Hi guys, it is Aoife from Fred We Say Dead Laughing, and I am here with a monthly recommendations. So monthly recommendations is a Goodreads group created by Trina over Between Chapters and Kayla at Kayla Rayne, and I will leave all the links to their channels and the Goodreads group below. And this month's topic is historical fiction. And as you guys know, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I love historical fiction. I haven't read a lot of it over the past 2 years, but I do love it. It's one of those genres I do love to pick up every now and again. I actually own quite a bit of historical fiction, and I'm going to talk about some of my favourites now. The book that I wanted to recommend was The Summer Queen by Elizabeth Chadwick. I would recommend all of Elizabeth Chadwick's books because all the ones I've read have been wonderful, but The Summer Queen I think is one of her newest series or trilogy, I'm not sure what it is, but this is basically about Eleanor of Aquitaine, who was married to the King of France, but then she ended up divorcing him and marrying Henry II of England, and she became mother to his children obviously, and she was the mother of Richard the Lionheart and King John. This book is really great. It kind of shows Eleanor growing up and then in her first marriage and being really unhappy in her first marriage and really fighting her way to getting the kind of life that she wanted in a world that was, you know, run by men, and where she had very little choice in what she was able to do, and she really worked like hard to be able to escape a situation that she was not happy in and find a better one for herself. And she is just an amazing character to follow, really strong, really great. Really recommend reading all about her. I loved her. It's going to be by Phillipa Gregory, and it's the White Queen. A lot of people know Phillipa Gregory. She's written a lot of books like The Other Boleyn Girl, but this is actually one of my favourite series of hers. And this one is about King Edward and when he married. And Queen Elizabeth, she was originally like married before, and she's kind of just like a lord's daughter, and she was thought of as kind of almost like a peasant, so a lot of people really didn't like their marriage, and they married in secret as well, and they married for love, so it was really different. And this is basically is about Elizabeth meeting Edward and falling in love with him and getting married and being queen and, you know, bearing his children and stuff like that. And this is kind of all centred around the Cousins' War and the War of the Roses and brother against brother and what they do when, you know, this is about like Elizabeth would have been the mother of the missing princes who were thought to have been killed by King Richard, and it's one of the kind of tales they say about King Richard, which is why he was so evil that he killed his nephews, and no one really knows what happened to these boys, but they would have been her children. And yeah, she just had a very interesting life, but this whole series, which is all about King Edward's reign and what happened after he died and all the crazy things that happened, yeah, this kind of starts from here, and I really recommend this series because it's really great. The next book I'm going to recommend, I actually can't talk about it too much because I don't remember a lot of it, but I do remember that I really enjoyed it when I read it, and it's The Stag by Jules Watson. This is actually the second book in a trilogy, but I never read the first one, but obviously you can read this one without reading the first one because I had no problem when I was reading it. But I think the trilogy is called the Dalrida trilogy, so that's what it is if you want to know. And the first book is The White Mare, so the Dawn Stag is the second book. But this is just kind of like a Celtic Britain, and I think the Celts fighting against Roman Britain invading. So it's against the ruthless governor of Roman Britain, intent on capturing the last unconquered territory in Britain, which was Alba, Scotland, and it's kind of about that fight. And it follows a few different people, both male and female, all different warriors, and yeah, it just, I remember really enjoying it, and I do actually need to reread it seeing as I can't remember anything about it, but yeah, I do recommend it because I did enjoy it, so that's all I can really say. Fiction book I will recommend is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. A lot of people probably know about this already because it did do its rounds on BookTube and it's quite popular, but it's basically about the last woman who was sentenced to death for murder in Iceland, and you're learning a lot about kind of Icelandic culture and just the Icelandic environment in this book, and I just feel like Iceland isn't a place you see a lot in books, so this is just really interesting from that point of view anyway. But the book itself is really great, and the story is very, I don't know, it's very moving and touching, and the writing is beautiful, so I would definitely recommend it for anyone who hasn't picked it up yet. Frog Music by Emma Donoghue was one of my most surprising reads a couple of years ago because I ended up loving it so much. This is set sometime in the think it's the late 1800s or the early 1900s in San Francisco, and it's basically about a girl who is kind of a burlesque dancer or some kind of like lounge dancer, and she meets this other girl, and the other girl then she ends up getting murdered, and the dancer ends up going off to try and find out who murdered her, and she kind of finds about her friend's past. And this touches on a lot of different things, set like of just the San Francisco area and different things, like I think the flu was breaking out at the time, the Spanish flu, and a lot, like there's LGBT aspects in this as well, and yeah, there's just a lot of really great things in this book. I really enjoyed it. It's one of those ones that seems to be kind of hit and miss. It's kind of like people either hate it or love it. I loved it, so I do have to recommend this, but I do hope that if anyone picks it up that you do like it as well. The Secret Scripture by Sebastian is one that's actually coming out as a movie this year, I think. It's about a woman who is 100 years old, and I think she's living in a psychiatric unit, and she's trying to tell her story from when she was living in Sligo in Ireland in the very early 20th century, so very early 1900s, and she's basically telling this person her life, and she ends up like a lot of really bad things happen to her for like no reason, and which is why she ended up in the place that she is in the present of the story, and it's just a very moving, touching book, and I think it has something to do with Sebastian Barry's own past as well, and I think it's something to do, it's very linked to what happened in his own family, I think, or something. I think so anyway. But I did really enjoy this when I read it, and it is coming out as a movie, and I can't wait to see the movie. I think it'll be very good. But yes, definitely one if people want to read more about Ireland and Irish history, and just it's good. Book that I want to recommend is a series, and it's one that I'm on the 4th book at the moment, and I've been reading it over the past, or listening to it over the past few months, and it is the Molly Murphy mystery series by Rhys Bowen, and this is about a young Irish woman who flees from Ireland when she accidentally kills someone, and she flees to New York, and it's like the very early 1900s, and she makes her way to New York and ends up saying that she wants to become a private investigator, and it's all about Molly's adventures trying to be a private investigator and getting herself into all sorts of trouble and into the middle of all sorts of situations, but you learn quite a lot about historical New York at the same time, like about immigrants' lives in New York, about Irish people's lives, about how hard it was to be a woman and an independent woman at that during those times as well, and I just love it. I really love Molly's voice. She is a lot of fun. A lot of the books are really fun. Like a lot of what happens to Molly is pure luck, and a lot of the stuff that she figures out is just down to pure luck and coincidence, so she's not like that particularly skilled or anything in my mind so far anyway, but it's definitely a fun series to read or listen to, and yeah, I totally recommend it. It's very good. For all the books I recommend for the historical fiction section of this, and I hope if you guys pick up any of the books that you really enjoy them, and thank you for watching. Please leave me any suggestions you have for historical fiction down below, because I'd love to know about them, and I'll see you guys again next time.